America is a nation divided. So, what should we do about it? Well, according to GOP Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, the solution is a national divorce. That is a direct quote. She tweeted this week that we need to separate by red states and blue states and shrink the federal government. Everyone I talk to says this, from the sick and disgusting woke culture issues shoved down our throats to the Democrats' traitorous America last policies. We are done. She tweeted about it once, and then she tweeted about it again and again, and she just kept tweeting about it. And if all of that wasn't enough, Greene felt the need to elaborate further on all of this.
A national divorce is not a civil war. It's actually separating by red states and blue states, and making state rights and state power a lot stronger than it is right now. It would be shrinking the federal government.
I think it's something that we should work towards because, it's kind of the vision that our founding fathers had for America. And I think it's a great one. It worked in the beginning. We just got it completely out of control.
It's crazy that I have to say this, but the Civil War was fought to prevent the red states and the blue states from splitting up. Right? So,
exactly.
What is going on?
And she's from Georgia, so since Biden won that's now a blue state, so what happens to her state? The whole discussion at the beginning of this show was about East Palestine, Ohio, and the need for government in our lives. And those are the discussions that members of Congress should be having about the role that government must play in our lives in a constructive way. And she's talking about this divorce. She's tweeting about it, so we keep talking about it. Of course, it is preposterous on every level, and it's very divisive.
I would say that most couples, before they get divorced, go to counseling. And I think Democrats would be happy to go through that counseling process, because here are the facts. 71% of the GDP, this is getting to the practical reasons why this would never work.
Right.
71% of GDP comes from Biden counties. Red states have higher poverty rates. They collect more in federal entitlements. They cannot be independent because they are dependent on a lot of these blue states. And so these are some of the practical reasons that I think Democrats would love to have this conversation. At the same time, by 2040, something like 30% of the Senate will then represent 70% of the American people. So there's also this discussion to have about equal representation that Democrats, I think, have been itching to have, even if an actual divorce is just not at all practical.
And I think also the broader issue here is Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? and she's not anymore just this fringe character. Here's Kevin McCarthy to the New York Times in January. If you're going to be in a fight, you want Marjorie in your foxhole. When she picks a fight, she's going to fight until the fight is over. She reminds me of my friends from high school, that we're going to stick together all the way through. He is all in.
He is. For Kevin McCarthy, I really think it's a mentality of keep your friends close and your enemies closer. He made a very concerted effort to bring her into the fold, make her part of the family. He thinks that way she can do less harm. He has some control over her. She's tried to play the inside game, and it's benefited her. She now has desirable committee seats. The problem with that is that there is a huge risk for Kevin McCarthy, because once you make her part of the family, you are accountable for anything that she does. And so it is absolutely fair game to ask Kevin McCarthy, do you agree with XYZ outlandish statement that Marjorie Taylor Greene made? And so that is what you're going to see going forward.
And wait, there's more. So Congressman Barry Moore introduced legislation to make the AR-15 the national gun of America, saying we must send a message that we will meet every attack on our constitutional rights. And on top of that, he's joined by the one and only George Santos. Take a listen.
This is a gun manufactured in the United States, creates jobs in the United States. It's a made in America gun. And I mean, we have national everything, but why not have a national gun?
So to the point of, look, in this Congress, when you have a 5-seat majority, every single member becomes important. Every single member's doings become significant. And Kevin McCarthy hasn't pushed Marjorie Taylor Greene to the side, and he hasn't pushed George Santos to the side either.
Yeah, I think that oftentimes with Republicans, right, there's typically a sort of we're going to keep family issues inside the House. If there are disagreements policy-wise, then we're not going to be quick to lambast somebody, right? If there's someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene who is saying something that we don't that Republicans may disagree with, they're not going to be so quick to condemn her, right? And now that they have already brought her back into the fold after she had lost her committee assignments, it's going to be even more difficult to sort of push her to the side again. But I actually wanted to point to something that she was saying, right, where she said, this is the founders had this idea, but what the founders were trying to do, you think about George Washington in his first speech to Congress in 1790, he was offering a national university in order to build a national character, in order to bring the country together rather than this sort of fracturing. So it was an acknowledgement that this was a sort of divided nation. These were different colonies, these were different states, but they needed to be brought together and hemmed together by some sort of national character.
Before we go, I just want to play real quick the response from Romney and Manchin to just the point that you're making right there.
You know, I think Abraham Lincoln dealt with that kind of insanity. We're not going to divide the country. It's united we stand, divided we fall.
Well, we're not called the divided states of America. We're called the United States. I totally, absolutely, vigorously disagree with her thought process of even dividing our country further than it is.
So just to end on a positive note, I mean, there are people out there who get it, who understand that this is nonsense. But we have this person now, I mean, she's a congresswoman saying this, and it's reflective of something that is out there in the country. And it's really quite unfortunate. I mean, we have a couple seconds. If you
It's not about policy. It's about her personal branding.
Yeah, I think that's exactly
And we'll
right.
see if it ends up in the presidential campaign. I could easily see the former president picking up something like this. But the reality is, history and facts, as you two both eloquently pointed out, fly in the face of everything she said.
Absolutely.